Hello and welcome along again to Business Unlocked. And today I'm really pleased to have with me once again my partner at Business Unlocked, Nadia Venditti, and we're talking CEO. What's it mean to be a CEO? What's the thinking behind being a CEO? What do you have to do to be a CEO? Nadia, welcome along today.
Thanks, Marcus. Great to be here.
Wonderful to have you here. So let's get right into it. CEO. What does that mean? We see lots of people out there calling themselves CEO. What is a CEO?
To me, my opinion, the CEO is the big thinker, the big picture thinker, sorry. They focus on the big picture. That's what their drive is. They manage up rather, well, they manage not up, sorry.
It's okay.
They they keep everybody on the right road. They make sure their managers are all following the right path.
Yes.
So that's what my opinion of a
So the
CEO is.
big picture, is that what I'd refer to as the vision? Here's what it looks like in the future. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, correct. The big
Yeah.
picture is the vision of the
So
company.
the job of the CEO is to hold that vision, hold that big picture of where the company's going. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, absolutely, yes. So the CEO needs to know what the understand what the big picture is, whether they're reporting to a board or whether it is their own business.
Yes.
They have to understand what that is, and once they understand it, they have to bring the people along with them and make sure that they're all on the right path. So basically, they're following, making well, they're not. They've got managers making sure the processes and the people are moving along the right way.
Yeah. And they're making sure that so if we talk about chief executive officer, which is what it means, I'm always wanting to say to people, well, chief executive officer means they're in charge of the other executive officers, which could be your chief financial officer, your chief marketing officer, your chief technology officer. And obviously that's what takes place in a bigger business that has the capacity to have those people in there. So the CEO is making sure that they're going forward with the strategy.
Exactly, and that the team's coming along with them
Yeah.
on the right
Okay.
road.
So that's a culture type point of view there when we talk about the team coming along with them. Is that culture? Is it something else?
Well, it's culture and also processes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in my opinion, it is anyway. So,
Yeah, it's all
yeah,
our opinions. I mean, our opinions are
yeah.
obviously correct, but it's all our opinions. So talk to me about that, about processes when you say that with the CEO.
Okay, so basically, obviously, you've got different layers in a business. You've got
Yep.
the employee, the manager, and then the CEO, or if there's other layers, depends on the size of the business
Yeah,
as well.
just to keep it simple,
So,
we'll stick with
yeah, we'll
those.
do the
Yep.
three. Yeah, so we've got the employee, the manager, and then the CEO.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, the manager is one that manages the process and the people, and then the employees are the ones that follow what the processes the manager puts in place,
Yep.
which has been derived down, like brought down from the CEO of what they need, what their end goal is. The managers obviously set that
So the
as well.
employees carrying out the operations of the business, if it's an electrical business, they're doing electrical work.
Yes,
The
yes.
manager is making sure that they're carrying out those operations. They're
That the
managing the
team's
tasks of those
delivering.
people.
Yeah,
Yep. And then the
yeah,
CEO is making sure that that's in keeping with the strategy, it's helping us get towards the vision. Is that what you're saying?
exactly, exactly what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Okay. So that's those words we come up with when we talk about businesses. Like strategy and tactics are two big words that get used interchangeably a lot. So if you're assigning those to the different roles, can you do that for us? Strategy, tactics, which one gets which?
Okay, so the strategy is the general manager or the manager, sorry, they get the strategy and then obviously they make sure that that the staff are following the tactics that we need to, the things that we need to implement, again, going back to the same word, the processes.
Okay, so when you're
So
saying that, it's the CEO is forming the strategy and passes that on to the manager to make sure that
I
it's
think so. I
okay.
think the
Yeah, okay.
manager needs to work with the CEO to understand what the
Yeah,
CEO's vision is. So yeah,
yeah, yeah. So the CEO is developing that that strategy, and that could be in keeping with the managers. Then the
Yes,
managers are making sure the strategy's implemented, and they're doing that through the tactics, which is this is how you go about doing the job,
yes,
basically, and making sure that the
exactly.
people on the ground are carrying out those tactics.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, and we could dive into that more, but that's the basic thing. So, what's your work with CEOs? And that's your specialty area, really. I would say is mentoring people to become CEOs. You've run your own manufacturing business before, as well as working with lots of businesses from a financial and a let's build you into a CEO. What do people really have to go through to become a CEO? Like, what's the difference between manager, CEO, employer, CEO? What, tell me.
Okay, so this is the hard one, especially because the business sizes that I work with are usually small to medium. They're not,
Okay.
your large corporates that have the layers, so they're a bit different.
Just so we can
The,
clarify that, when you say small to medium, what might be an employee size or a revenue size that fits into your definition there?
it's not necessarily revenue because you can have some small businesses that turn over a
Yeah,
lot. It's more the employee size. So I'd say anyone with 5+ employees really that have, you know, that need
is a
structure
small
and need,
business. Yeah.
yeah, is it
And then we
small? And
go
then
up to, because like in America, you consider it a small business if you've still got 100 people, I
yeah,
think.
exactly.
But in Australia, we have very few businesses from a percentage point of view that would be at 100 employees.
That's right. So in Australia, it's dealt with differently, and this is from the tax point of view that we are small, medium, and large based on our turnover,
Yeah,
regardless of size. So you can
yeah,
have two employees turning over, over $10 million, and now you're considered a medium business. So it doesn't
yeah. So just again to
wait.
clarify for
Yeah.
people, we mainly deal with people in that 2 to 50 type employees. A lot of the time, it might be 20 employees
Yes.
in the business,
Yes.
not typically 100+ employees. Anyway, so
Exactly.
let's
Yes.
get into that. What are the changes people have to go through from going out, being an employee, starting their business to have CEO thinking and actions in their business?
It's actually a really big step because you're starting always, every new business starts as an employee, as a doer. So
Yes.
you're so used to that and you have so, and you sort of, best. And this is
Yeah.
what I find that, I know best and I know, how this should be done. And so when they're moving from that position to, they should really move to manager, but they don't. They tend to go from that position, trying to get straight to CEO. It's a mindset thing, and they can't. It's a really difficult one. So what I do is I try and get them to be manager first, and then
Yes.
once they're comfortable in that area, then we move to the CEO. But while they're moving from employee mentality, it's all a mental thing. So it's all a mindset thing. And it's basically if you're used to doing, and you can't walk past a staff member without checking what they're doing, just to make sure they're doing it right, you're still a manager. So you
Yes.
can move to that. Well, you're still a doer, really, but you're in between that doer and employee and manager. So get them into the right mindset to be a manager. Once we've got them in the right mindset to be a manager, then we focus on CEO because they really have to let go and trust and really have, you know, um, lots of trust in their staff to get to that position. So it is a lot of mindset, but it's also a lot of meetings, discussions, and
Yes.
lots of back and forth. And that's why I support them in, I don't, it's not just a once a month meeting, it's literally a weekly check in and sometimes, texts and phone calls. So, yeah, just to keep them on track.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that'll bring us to another point. But
Sorry.
then again, are there differences in how they think about money from being employee manager to CEO?
Um, Sometimes there are, and it depends on personality as well. So usually we focus on the money first to make sure that that's
Sure.
all sorted. Yeah, so we implement the profit first system. We work on that just to make sure that they understand that they can financially, say, for example, employ a manager to take that position eventually, or
Yeah.
what the plan is. So we
And that's what I
focused
mean
on,
by, is there a
yeah.
mindset change with how they deal with money is moving up that entrepreneurial ladder?
Yeah, it does make it makes a difference in the sense of that if they're ready for it, they will definitely, find a way for it to happen, whether it be, cutting more expenses down out, so we
Sure.
just focus on it. So we really focus hard on how they can comfortably feel comfortable financially to make that decision and employ somebody and take that position to step out.
Okay.
And
So
yeah,
I'll give you my
yes,
example scenario for that and see if this makes sense to you. I say a key distinction between a manager and a CEO will be the manager asks, how much does it cost and what do you do? And the CEO asks, what's my investment and what's the outcome? So there's the attitude to money is not how much am I spending, it's about what am I getting. And
what's
I
the
think,
return on investment?
well, yeah, I mean, we work with people on that when it comes down to hourly rates. Whilst it's a useful figure to work out, say, when you're determining pricing strategy for some service businesses or contractors, that this is how much it costs you an hour to run the business, so your hourly rate's got to be at this. We also propose that really what you have to sell is return on investment. I mean, that's what we do in our business. We're not saying it's going to take me this many hours and pay me this. It's here's a fee and here's what I expect you to get out of it, or what do you want to get out of it?
It's,
And like I
it's about
say
the
to
outcome.
people, if you're paying me money to start with, my very first selfish thing is to want to have my fee covered, but we expect to generate multiples of that fee in actual profit, not just in revenue. So it's a different concept to paying me and saying to me, what are you going to do? Like, in a way, it's like, well, what am I going to do and how much it costs? What I'm going to do, and how much it costs is irrelevant if you can make the money back, isn't it? So anyway, I just think of that as a difference in thinking that they've got to get to.
I also find that a lot of business owners, again, when I'm talking about businesses, I'm talking about small to medium, not, that they also have fear around the title. So they think
Right.
that by putting a title on the bottom of their email signature, it actually is stressful because they have to
Right.
behave a certain way. And and I actually look at it another way. It actually it holds them accountable to
Yeah.
that position.
Is that part of the imposter syndrome if people are doing that and not feeling like it should be then there?
Yeah.
Who am I
Yes.
to be a
Yeah.
CEO?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Because a lot
interesting.
of people think CEOs are just large corporate
Right.
companies manage large corporate. Yeah. So I think
Yeah.
that's also another mindset shift that needs to happen.
Yeah. And whether you have all those other executive officers that you're chiefing at the time, we're really saying you've still got to think like a CEO, which is vision, strategy, what's the culture of my business, all of those sort of things is where you've got to move your thinking
Yes.
to. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we've got, and I've forgotten what I was going to ask you about before when it came up with so you've got the vision, strategy, culture, part of what you're doing, holding people to that, making sure people are doing their jobs. Where are some other places that it comes up that you need to change how you're thinking or what you're doing? Do you have an example of that in a business to give us that to help us go through?
So just trying to understand that question. So you're
Okay.
saying, is it another position in the business, or is
Oh,
it
just is there another
just within?
example? Like if you've got a case study that you can say, so this is what happened with this person without obviously
Uh,
giving away any information.
Absolutely, myself.
Okay, yeah, well,
This
tell
is
us that.
yeah.
That's
So
great.
So basically, in my bookkeeping business, I got stuck in the doing,
Right.
and every time I had a team. And I basically was another employee of my business. That's what happened. And I was trying to become the CEO, but it was so difficult because a mindset thing. And I was
Yeah.
stuck in that mindset of even moving to manager. I was struggling because it was always about not letting the client down, making sure that the client's not let down. And so this is where, rather than just trusting, I did not. Yeah, I don't know if it was trust. Yeah, I can't say it was that. It was more around letting go, really,
I'll go
which
with
I suppose
trust. You
is
don't
trust.
let go because you
Yeah,
don't have trust. So what did you
exactly.
do to make that happen so you could let go?
So what I did is I just said, okay, I held the team to account rather than I was only holding myself accountable out of everybody. I was only holding myself accountable and everybody else was getting on with their lives as normal. And I went, nope, this is not. So I started holding the team to account and things started changing. And
So,
so that's when I
so what's that
realized,
mean? Holding them to account to what?
well, basically making sure that the work was finished on time, and if something was going to be late, that they were communicating with the clients and letting them know, rather than waiting for me to find the mistake and letting the
Right.
client know they're going to be late. Yeah, or that.
Yeah. So
It's
they
very
have to
important.
take
Yeah,
on the responsibility for the work they're doing, and you
correct.
hold them accountable, meaning there's consequences whether if they don't get that done. And then you talked about processes before. Was that part of your role to introduce processes to help them with getting it done on time?
Yes, yes. So I made sure I had all the processes in place, and that meant having the right workflow system, having the right manuals, and
Yeah.
yeah, and steps and things. So everything was there for them.
So in a small business, it might be, and look, bookkeeping, BAS work in particular, like at that level, might be a case of, well, you're an expert in your field, so you might be the one who's passing that on to people who aren't as experienced or as knowledgeable. But in a bigger business, it mightn't be. So you might be at 15 employees. You don't have to be the person who's creating all the processes either.
That's
There
right,
might be
exactly.
other people there. I mean, often when I work with people on those, it'll be actually getting the people doing the job to create the process. Like they're
Exactly.
already doing it.
Yeah.
We can, and now with technology, you can record it on a computer screen or on a plumber can record on the phone how they go about changing a tap, for instance, so it's
Hmm.
documented. You can run that through AI that'll give you a summary or a standard operating procedure for it as well.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
there's lots of things you can do there. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the CEOs who aren't being comfortable being a CEO at the moment. So, I've had quite a few of those come through with me in coaching where they're, well, one of the interestingly more common ones that I don't think the outside world sees is where they feel like they've lost their mojo a bit. They don't want to go to work. They go, I've been doing this for 15 years. I'm running a business, making money, paying myself well. The business is making a profit, but I'm just not feeling it anymore. Have you dealt with some of those along the way as well?
I have. And I find that also is so it can be two things. It can be that they've just lost their mojo and
Yep.
they need something, some change. Or the other thing is it's also when they get to a point where it's a little uncomfortable that they need to step out and make some changes for themselves, not necessarily for the business, but it might be that transition between manager and CEO
Okay.
or employee and manager. So it just depends. And I've noticed that that's also where they go, oh, it's through the fear of the change that
Yeah.
they feel that way. Yes.
So it's staying. They're looking to go forward, but there's a resistance to stepping out of the comfort zone, the familiarity zone, we might say.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And what do you do to help them get through that?
So it just depends on the person as well, and we have a lot of conversation around it, and I also get them to do a complete brain dump of what's going on and how
Yeah.
they're
Sure.
feeling, and and then we work backwards from that. So we sort of start looking at, is it because you've reached your goal that you're feeling this, and now you need a new goal, or is it that the goal that you thought you had doesn't excite you anymore, so it's not really what you're working towards. You've lost the mojo because it's really not, doesn't mean
Yeah.
that much to you anymore. So we review the goals again, we go through everything, and we actually look at the structure and see where they want to sit. There might be something, they might not want to be a CEO. They might be
Right.
happy being the marketing, the creative
Yep.
person in the business, and let somebody else step into that role of worrying about everything going on.
Yeah.
It may,
Well,
you know, it depends.
I've had
Yeah,
that with my teams before where, um, the tyre fitter, he actually likes fitting tyres. And we go, you can go into all sorts of arguments about that's them being afraid to step into the role. But there's also well, they might just like doing that and it mightn't
that's
fit
right.
them to be a CEO. You see that in lots of businesses where there are, and I can remember this from research about school principals. They came up with 3 or 4 different kinds. And, one of it is, one type of person is a person who's good at starting businesses, but not so much of keeping them going. So it's then, well, you need to hire a professional CEO or whatever it happens to be. One is someone who mightn't be good at starting, but they're good at maintaining or growing. I've seen it in school principals where they it could be they're really good at growing the physical school, like getting grants and putting buildings in place and attracting students, but really
Hmm.
not good at managing their staff, or that sort of thing. So it just depends. Again, that comes back to what's the vision at the moment of where this business is
That's right.
going. How
Yeah.
about so one of the things that comes up for me there when you're saying that is that thought of, are we talking about their personal vision is not in alignment with where the business is going? And we've got to bring those back together, which is what
That's
alignment
right.
is about.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do you spend time then when you're talking about sort of what's this all about? It's coming back to what's this doing for you personally?
Yes. Because I believe that your business needs to support you personally, not
Yeah.
just financially, but in all areas. So even getting up in the morning, you have to enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's like having a job that you hate. How do you get up in the morning and go to that job
Go to
every
that.
day knowing,
Yeah.
yeah, and turn up?
And
So
I've had that.
you
I've
yeah,
had that, with CEOs who are running businesses doing tens of millions of dollars, and they get up, solely own the business, making good money, and they're like, I don't want to go to the office.
mm,
Like, okay, we need to revisit that and see what's going on. So really important there. And for most of the businesses we deal with, they're owned by a person, a
person,
family, a partnership. Maybe they're
yes,
not publicly traded. It's coming back to that. The business is there to provide for your life, money, time, enjoyment in what you're doing. So is your personal vision, are you clear on that of what this is doing for you? And then, so what's the business vision that aligns with that? And maybe we need to stop and do that. And we both do that. That might be let's sit down to start with a half day and go into that. Yeah.
and I think that's also another thing small businesses don't do. Sorry, Marcus, for
Yeah.
cutting you off.
No, go.
Small businesses forget to have that planning time. It's okay to take a half a day, out of um, your
At
business.
least.
Yeah, at least if you could get a full day and not a weekend, not your family time or your time, it's Monday to Friday during the work time. Take a day out and really, whether it means you go away for the day or away from the business where you can think clearly. Go with
I'm a big fan of go off site so that your thinking's
correct.
not in the business. We've removed
That's
that
right.
part. Yeah.
Yes. And if you have key team members that you think can contribute, bring them along. Let them contribute. Let them be part of it. Because you find that when your team is involved, everything's clearer for them and they
Yeah.
know the path. They will help you achieve it.
So I actually think that's a really big part of it because if you're not really being a CEO, so I find this a lot. People say they've got a management team in place, and it's like, well, that's sort of what you have, but they don't really understand the vision. A lot of businesses don't share their financials, and I'm actually believe that if you do that properly, people are happy that
That's
they want to know the financials. As long as you're doing the right thing, if you turn up with a new speedboat every week and you're not paying people properly, that doesn't work. So that
exactly.
whole personal alignment, business alignment, it might be, so I did one last year where we took to start with the 4 executive team out. And then we did the next 15 people we took out for a full day as well.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you, one of the things that always comes up for me, that executive team didn't understand the financials of the business. No, and then to pass that on to the next guys. We're not going through the full detail there, but
Yeah.
understanding the margins and how, doing rework, how it's affecting it, and that, that 10% profit isn't actually 10%, all that sort of stuff. I think that's a really, really important thing to do. And we both do that. Personal alignment, like alignment for the CEO. Sometimes that's with their life partner, even if they're not in the business. And then let's do work with the team to get them on board, vision, mission, culture, strategy, all of those things. Yeah,
I'm just going to step back on something you've just said there.
sure.
Sorry, Marcus.
No, go for it.
A lot of business owners think that they're in this alone. What they need to understand, there is a team, apart from their team that they pay, but there's also the team, their partner, their life partner.
Yep.
And if they come to these planning days or have conversations with them rather than shut them out, things will move quicker because the partner understands why, for example, things are happening, why, there might be $100 less coming home because of the vision that it is
Yep.
going to be part of the end game, or the 5-year plan, the 2-year plan, the 12-month plan. And whereas if they're kept in the dark, if your life partner or your partner is kept in the dark, it's really hard for them to understand what's going on. So they sometimes see the business as the enemy.
Yeah.
So
I completely agree. And I think I look at businesses out there and I think there are partners that are advocates for the business, meaning, they're happy for things to go and take place. And then there's the raving fans. And if you can get your life relationships working at that raving fan level of what you're doing there as well, that makes all the difference. Okay, so finish up. Have a look at where's your thinking at. Are you thinking like an employee, a manager, or a CEO? And what does that mean to you? Have a look at what you're doing from day to day. Will inform you about what your thinking actually is, won't it? Take on board what we've said about the thinking. If you need, I mean, I think, so I do this with clients yearly anyway, an alignment of where are we at, where are we going, what's the vision, is it still true, so what are the strategies to get there? And if you'd like to do one of those with either of us, just get in contact with us. Go to the website, businessunlocked.com.au. We've got a meeting link there. You can come along for a free quick session just to have a chat and see if we're a good fit and tee things up from there. Getting quick because the end of the year's coming. That's another thing I'll just say now. People often say, yes, we'll do that at the start of next year. And I think that's wrong. It's like planning. I'm a great fan of that planning next week now, meaning like on a Thursday or Friday or Sunday night if it happens to be. So it sits in your brain and it's ready. Plan next year before the end of the year, at least what the vision and strategies and things are going to be. And then it's sitting there ready to just execute. Otherwise, it's like playing football and running on the field and just going, oh, we just need a timeout now, even though the game started, so that we can work out what we're doing today. It's like, no, you've planned that in the week before the game. We know what's going on. You run on the field and you start playing. So
and you get on
anyway,
with it. That's right.
all right.
So just one last thing.
Yep.
I just want to reiterate. An employee has a list of to-dos. A manager has how do we get this thing done smoothly? And the CEO is what resources or decisions do we need to make to get there?
Awesome. Thank you. Great way to finish up. Nadia, thanks so much for joining me.
No problem.
Once again, we'll be hearing from you along the way. Love having you on the podcast to share your wisdom, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks, Nadia.
Thank you.